Hello everyone, and welcome to another true crime video. Today we're going to explore the shocking tale of Serge Miranovic, a Montenegrin man who started out as a polite and promising youth. Serge was raised in the former Yugoslavia during a time of economic hardship and Cold War tensions. Despite his humble beginnings, he was a smart and well-behaved boy, focused on his future and encouraged by his supportive parents. Little did they know that Serge's ambitions would eventually lead him down a dark and dangerous path. After getting involved in smuggling as a teenager, Serge's life took an unexpected turn. What started as a small-time operation quickly escalated, and before long, Serge found himself immersed in the ruthless world of international drug trafficking and organized crime. In this video, we'll follow Serge's incredible journey from a polite youth in Montenegro to a powerful and feared crime figure in Amsterdam's Underworld. We'll reveal the shocking details of his rise to power, his connections to notorious criminals, and the violent events that ultimately led to his tragic demise. So sit back, grab a snack, and get ready for a wild ride through the life of Serge Miranovic. This is a story you don't want to miss. And P.S. don't forget to leave a like and comment and subscribe to the channel. Serge Miranovic, also known as Srđan Miranovic, was born in August 1964 in Montenegro, which was then part of Yugoslavia under Josip Broz Tito's socialist regime. Growing up in Titograd, later renamed Podgorica, he witnessed the Cold War tensions and economic hardships typical of Yugoslavia. Despite the challenges, Serge's family, supported by his government-employed father and homemaker mother, provided a stable upbringing for him and his siblings. Serge had a younger sister and an even younger brother. He was a smart boy. Encouraged by his parents, he achieved good results at school. He was a good boy too. He focused on his future and wanted to continue learning. When he reached puberty, he started to look beyond boundaries. He heard about the rich West, about beautiful chic clothes and fast cars, something different from the gray suits, ladas, and zastavas in the Yugoslavian streets. Around the age of 18, he joined the army like every other Yugoslav. Leader Tito had every boy perform military service somewhere other than his native region. Serbs went to Montenegro, Croats went to Serbia, and Montenegrins, including Serge, went to Bosnia. In this way, Tito wanted to encourage the feeling that it didn't matter where you came from. Everyone should feel like a Yugoslav. When his military service was over, Serge came into contact with smugglers of exclusive clothing through a family member. The goods entered the Eastern Bloc via the Austrian-Slovenian border and went to Montenegro via Croatia and Bosnia. Serge became intensively involved in this smuggling at the age of 19. After Tito passed away in 1980, many Yugoslavs migrated to the West. Serge was interested in the stories of friends who had been to Germany and the Netherlands. He particularly admired Amsterdam. The sounds and the letters held an almost captivating feeling for him. Amsterdam symbolized freedom, openness, and happiness in his mind. During one of his numerous smuggling trips, he decided to relocate to Amsterdam. But then things took a turn for the worse. Serge was caught red-handed with a van full of clothes. He was arrested and sent to prison for 3 months. His parents were shocked. All this time, they had no knowledge of his illegal activities. They were law-abiding citizens with entirely different hopes for his future. After his release, they bought a shop in Podgorica. Serge felt regret for disappointing his parents. He understood their good intentions, but his desire for adventure and more was stronger. Fueled by the exciting tales from his friends in Germany, he made the decision to journey to Western Europe in the mid-80s. He took a boat to Bari, Italy. There, he began talking with a group of Yugoslavians who, like him, also wanted to reach the West via Italy. One of them was Alexander Bulatovic. They already knew each other slightly from Podgorica, where Alex had been a taxi driver. The two eventually became inseparable friends, like two peas in a pod, almost brothers according to those who knew them. They were the same age and complemented each other perfectly. Serge was very social, a good talker, and nurturing. Alex was quieter but determined, not resting until their plans were carried out. They initially landed in Milan and survived by stealing and robbing. Meanwhile, Serge and Alexander marveled at the beautiful cars on the Milanese streets, where elegantly dressed men and women strolled. They spent hours gazing at the beautifully decorated and lit windows of Milan's fashion stores. After a few years in the Italian city, Serge and Alex traveled with a group of Yugoslavians through Germany to the Netherlands. At 27, Serge Miranovic finally arrived in his Amsterdam. It was 1991. That year, the Amsterdam criminal underworld was highly tense. A complex power struggle was unfolding, primarily within the group led by Klaas Bruinsma, the first real Dutch crime boss. Bruinsma had already recognized the value of Yugoslavians within his organization. Since the mid-1980s, Yugoslavs have been carrying out violent tasks on behalf of Bruinsma. This was one reason his organization was so feared and could grow so large. However, in 1990, the Bruinsma group began to fall apart. Some gang members started working on the side for themselves without the boss's knowledge, and there were even talks of murdering their leader. Bruinsma increasingly behaved like a loose cannon, making unpredictable decisions that drove his gang members to madness. If Klaas took a dislike to you, a snap of his fingers was enough to have you beaten senseless. This king-like behavior made him increasingly unpopular in the criminal world. But there was another factor causing tension in the underworld. The Netherlands was being flooded by Yugoslavs, with some estimates suggesting that at one point there were 450,000 Yugoslavs living in the country. Among them were people who no longer wanted to work for others and decided to start their own operations. One of them was a Serb named Ljubinko Bečirović, nicknamed Duja. He formed a group around him that managed to take a significant slice of the Amsterdam criminal pie. In no time, the Duja group played an important role in the drug trade. One of the people who joined the Duja group was an Amsterdamer named Martin Hoogland. Hoogland was a former police officer who had turned to crime. Duja and Hoogland complemented each other very well. Hoogland helped Duja navigate Amsterdam. At the same time, Hoogland saw his partner Duja as a stepping stone toward his ultimate goal, which was to take control of Amsterdam. Through Hoogland, Duja came into contact with Stanley Hillis, who at that time was one of the most important figures within Klaas Bruinsma's organization. The plan was to set up a cocaine trade. This went completely wrong. The cocaine was not delivered, and Duja lost some of his money. He didn't accept this and held Klaas Bruinsma responsible, since Stanley Hillis was, after all, a member of his organization. Bruinsma saw it differently and thought they should sort it out among themselves. A conflict arose that spiraled out of control. There were shootings back and forth, and eventually Duja was shot dead in October 1990. Somewhere in the midst of all this, Alex Bulatovic and Serge Miranovic arrived in Amsterdam from Italy. Serge and Alex were both 27 years old at that time. The men did not yet assume any significant role in the Amsterdam underworld. The group of Yugoslavs who initially welcomed them contrasted with the Duja group. They carried out violent tasks and burglaries, essentially anything profitable. They targeted affluent neighborhoods in Dutch cities and occasionally crossed borders, seeking opportunities in wealthy Belgian municipalities like Braasschat. But Serge Miranovic didn't arrive in Amsterdam with the intention of breaking into houses. His ambitions were grander. Serge aimed to make millions and, together with his friend Alex Bulatovic, decided to pursue their own paths. The two sought to venture into the drug trade, pledging to split every earned guilder 50-50 between them. Serge and Alex became regulars at the News on Leidseplein, a popular Yugoslav hangout at the time. This led them to connect with two Dutchmen involved in the drug trade, including Guys van Dam Jr., whose father was a prominent figure in Amsterdam's underworld. These men were also closely associated with Cor van Hout, one of the kidnappers of Heineken, who was released in 1991 after serving his sentence for the kidnapping. Serge and Alexander met Cor van Hout, who often preferred to be in Spain, while the Yugoslavs regularly imported hashish from Morocco. A close friendship developed among these men, including the presence of the other Heineken kidnapper, Willem Holleder, within Cor's circle. In the summer of 1991, Klaas Bruinsma was shot dead in front of the Hilton Hotel in Amsterdam. Eventually, Martin Hoogland, the former police officer and Duja's best friend, was convicted for that murder. Initially, Bruinsma's death had no immediate business consequences for Serge and Alexander. In fact, things started going very well for them. They shifted their focus from the hashish trade in Europe to South America, where Serge established connections within the Colombian cocaine cartels. During that time, Serge and Alex made an impression on the Colombians with their extensive contacts and distribution opportunities, despite the cocaine trade still being controlled by the Colombians themselves. They operated from the Netherlands, sending shipments to Italy, Switzerland, England, Yugoslavia, and the Scandinavian countries. Meanwhile, a strong friendship developed between Cor van Hout and the two Yugoslavs. Cor trusted them completely. They spent time drinking, dining, and gambling together. Occasionally, after wild nights when they were too intoxicated to drive, the two Yugoslavs even slept on Cor's couch. Their relationship remained purely friendly, but they were always there to help each other when needed. With Cor van Hout's support and their successful trade ventures, Serge Miranovic and Alexander Bulatovic rose as formidable figures. They adorned luxurious watches and Brioni leather jackets worth 20,000 guilders, drove exclusive Jaguars, and mingled in Amsterdam's upper echelons and underworld circles. Their wardrobe evolved from black turtlenecks to colorful Versace shirts. They frequented Marbella, where they bought houses and met Mirko Vukmirovic, known as Mikac, a Montenegrin criminal and friend of Stanley Hillis, which would have significant consequences later. Serge, a striking figure in Amsterdam's social scene, met Ingrid, a bold and fearless Zaandammer blonde, in 1992 at one of the city's renowned establishments. Ingrid, who had been through a difficult period due to her ex-husband Martin Hoogland's arrest for Klaas Bruinsma's murder, had a 12-year-old son named Jeffrey with her. A romantic relationship blossomed between Ingrid and Serge. In 1994, they welcomed a son together, Jordi. Meanwhile, Alexander found happiness in a relationship with Ingrid's sister. Serge took on a fatherly role with Jeffrey, overseeing his homework, giving him weekly pocket money, and covering his expenses. He empathized with Jeffrey, whose father was in prison and who had a strained relationship with his mother, leading to frequent tensions at home. Serge made a pact with Jeffrey that if he behaved well and treated his mother with respect, he would receive a Rolex when he turned 16. Jeffrey succeeded in meeting these conditions. Initially apprehensive about another man raising his son, Martin Hoogland eventually appreciated Serge's positive influence on Jeffrey's life, particularly how Serge encouraged him academically. In 1995, Hoogland was definitively sentenced to 20 years in prison, including for Bruinsma's murder. During the early 1990s in Yugoslav circles, Sreten Joka Jokic took over from Duja Bečirovic, earning the nickname Joka Amsterdam for his influence. He aimed to dominate Amsterdam's underworld, sparking a violent street war against Stanley Hillis, who had risen after Bruinsma's death. Montenegrin criminal Mikac, initially aligned with Hillis, switched sides to join Josic, speaking highly of Serge and Alexander to Jokic. When Serge and Alexander engaged with Josic, it drew attention in Yugoslav circles. Stanley Hillis heard of Josic's growing power and aligned with Bosnian criminal Marif Paja M and Montenegrin criminal Milos Bato P. Two other Amsterdam crime powers, John Mieremet and Sam Klepper, known as Spick and Span for their brutal methods, surrendered to police in 1991, fearing Josic's threats. Despite initially avoiding direct involvement, Serge and Alexander became entangled in the conflict by aligning with Josic's faction. During this period in Amsterdam, a fraternal conflict brewed between former allies Cor van Hout and Willem Holleder. Cor's erratic behavior, fueled by alcohol and threats, strained their relationship. Holleder, preferring a quieter life after his Heineken kidnapping sentence, found Cor's actions troublesome. Cor's antagonism extended to figures like Sam Klepper, leading to an assassination attempt on him in 1996. Holleder, wary of getting involved, maintained ties with Klepper and Mieremet to manage tensions. He also sought assurance from Mink Koch, Stanley Hillis's associate, to protect against further conflicts, paying a hefty sum for security. As tensions escalated, Holleder distanced himself from Cor, eventually joining forces with Stanley Hillis after Klepper's death in 2000. Hillis, alongside his new right-hand man, Dino Sorel, formed a formidable trio in the Dutch underworld. This group, supported by Yugoslavs like Paja M and Bato P, wielded significant influence and power. In December 2000, a second attempt on Cor van Hout's life occurred, believed to be retaliation by John Mieremet for Klepper's death, as he suspected Cor's involvement. In the summer of 2002, Sreten Joka Josic was arrested in Sofia, Bulgaria, amid speculation of betrayal by associates tied to Stanley Hillis and Willem Holleder. The Dutch authorities brought Josic to the Netherlands and detained him in the high-security EBI prison in Voet. On December 5, 2002, A failed assassination attempt targeted Gijs van Dam Jr. at Gelderlandplein, leaving him permanently disabled. Just over a month later, on January 24, 2003, Cor van Hout was fatally shot at age 45 in Amsterdam, deeply affecting Serge Miranovic and Alexander Bulatovic, though they continued their criminal activities. Wiretaps later revealed their connections with Amsterdam criminals like Henk Rami and Greg Remmers, sparking a major police investigation. Serge, Alexander, and their associate Mikak were suspected of planning various crimes, including an assassination attempt on prosecutor Koos Plooy and an alleged plot to free Josic from EBI. Then, on May 17, 2003, while partying in Amsterdam, Alexander Bulatovic was fatally shot while driving his Mercedes with friends. Serge received the tragic news and rushed to the scene, holding his friend for the last time. Following the murder of Alexander Bulatovic, which remained unsolved, Amsterdam's underworld banker Willem Enstra disclosed crucial details during recorded car conversations. He mentioned that Willem Holleder sought cash to settle debts related to the killing, suggesting a link to the crime. Enstra further indicated financial pressure from Holleder, potentially connected to other violent incidents. The police intensified their investigation after Bulatovic's death, leading to the arrest of several suspects. Greg Remmers and Serge Miranovic faced charges related to drug trafficking, with Miranovic receiving a 4-year sentence. During Miranovic's imprisonment, his associate Mikak was assassinated in 2003, reportedly by order of Holleder and Stanley Hillis, who were implicated in the murder, according to Enstra. Similarly, Martin Hoogland, convicted for the killing of Klaas Bruinsma, was nearing the end of his sentence in March 2004 when he was murdered during a bike ride. Sources suggested Hoogland planned to resume his previous criminal activities upon release, leading to suspicions of revenge. The disclosures by Enstra and subsequent arrests marked a turning point in the investigation, shedding light on the complex and dangerous dynamics within Amsterdam's criminal underworld. In late 2005, Serge Miranovic fled the Netherlands with 4 months left on his prison term after his mother's death, granted a brief leave to attend her funeral. Instead of returning, Serge went to Montenegro, where he orchestrated a cocaine trafficking operation from Colombia. Seeking revenge for his friend Alexander Bulatovic's murder, Serge's activities unsettled Willem Holleder, prompting warnings from Paja police noted Holleder's reclusive behavior following these events. On January 12, 2006, Serge Miranovic was brutally killed by unknown assailants in Montenegro. His funeral, described by journalist John van den Heuvel as reminiscent of a mafia ceremony, drew a procession of luxury cars alongside the humble vehicles of his family. Years later, reflections on Serge's life posted on YouTube highlighted his transformation from a normal, polite youth to a figure whose violent end shocked those who knew him. And so we come to the tragic end of Serge Miranovic's life. From a polite and promising youth in Montenegro, he rose to become a powerful figure in Amsterdam's ruthless criminal underworld. In the years that followed, those who knew Serge expressed shock at his transformation from a well-behaved boy into a feared crime kingpin who met a violent demise. His story serves as a cautionary tale of how even the most unlikely individuals can be seduced by the allure of power and criminal riches. So, as we reflect on Serge Miranovic's incredible rise and fall, we're left with one burning question. What drove this once promising young man to abandon his principles and embrace a life of crime, ultimately leading to his tragic downfall? Was it a thirst for adventure, a desire for wealth and status, or something darker lurking within? We may never know the full truth, but Serge's story reminds us that the path to the criminal underworld is a treacherous one, with consequences that can haunt even the most unexpected individuals. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel.